Assalamu alaikum students, a very good morning to all. I hope you all are fine and doing great. The other day you were started with ant helminthics and the importance of the disease burden, its geographical distribution, different drugs available for the treatment, different types of worms, and albendazole has been taught to you by Professor Saab. So let's continue the topic. Before starting today's session, let's check out today's learning objective. So by the end of today's lecture, you should be able to name the anthelminthic drugs active against nematodes, trematodes, and cystodes, write down their mechanism of action, and enumerate their clinical uses and adverse effects. So as we discussed earlier, the most important thing is that you should know the name of the worms, as was in the case of bacteria and viruses. And if you don't know their names, you won't be able to write down the spectrum or the clinical indications of the drugs. So you have to memorize their names. So your parasitology has to be top notch. So just go through your lectures or your chapter of parasitology and try to memorize the name of the worms. Clear? And keep your notebook and pen by your side and write down the important points being told to you during the lecture. The important questions being asked in exam from this topic are basically the drugs used for the treatment of nematodes, trematodes, and cystodes and their mechanism of action. But before starting today's session, let's have a quick recap. So the helminths that infect humans, they are nematodes, also known as roundworms, trematodes known as flukes, and cystodes known as tapeworms, and you have to memorize their names. This is a very important diagram showing the drugs active against all these helminths. So the drugs active against nematodes, they are MAP ID, mebendazole, albendazole, pyrentyl palmoate, ivermectin, and diethylcarbamazine. And drugs active against trematodes are BOMP, bithionol, oxamniquin, metrifonate, and praziquantel. And drugs active against cystodes, these are PMAN, praziquantel, mebendazole, albendazole, and niclosamide. So as you can see, albendazole, mebendazole, and praziquantel, these are the broad spectrum anthelminthic drugs because they cover more than one group of helminths, right? So if you get a question about which are the broad spectrum anthelminthic drugs, then these are albendazole, mebendazole, and praziquantel. Clear? So then I told you that mechanism of action is also asked in exams. So anthelminthic drugs, they generally act by paralyzing the parasite. As you know, parasite is an organism which relies on an other organism for its survival. So depending upon the tissue of its infestation, it will get its nutrition and everything from the host cells. Like if they are present in the intestine, it will get attached to the intestinal wall. If it is present in the blood, it will attach to the wall of the blood vessels. So if we'll paralyze the parasite, then it won't be able to attach to the walls, and it will detach from the host cell, and then it will ultimately die. So this is one mechanism of killing the parasite. The next one is by damaging the worm, so that then our immune system comes into play and it will eliminate the worm. It will kill the worm. And the last mechanism is by altering its metabolism. Nematodes are one of the most common worms, and let's check out the drugs which are used against nematodes. So nematodes, they can infect the intestine as well as the other tissues including the blood. So the most common nematodes are the intestinal nematodes, and these infections are really common. Roundworm, which is Ascaris lumbricoides, hookworm like Ankylostoma duodenale or Necator species. Pinworms are also very important. It is known as Enterobius vermicularis, and whipworm is Trichuris trichuria. So you should know their common names as well. You can get a question with common name or with their scientific names, so you should know both of them. And then the tissue nematodes, these are the Trichinella spiralis, cutaneous larva migrans, Wuchereria bancrofti and Bergia malai and Onchocerca volvulus and Loa loa. So you have been told about these infestations in previous lecture, and now we'll be discussing the drugs which are used to treat these infections. These are MAP ID, remember, mebendazole, albendazole, pyrantyl palmate, ivermectin and diethyl carbamazine. So we have a group of benzimidazole drugs, uh, mebendazole, albendazole and thiabendazole, which are active against nematodes, and these are the most commonly used drugs, especially the mebendazole and albendazole. Thiabendazole is not that commonly used because of its adverse effects. And mebendazole and albendazole are one of the most commonly used antihelminthics these days. So their mechanism of action is same, but their spectrum and adverse effects are different. Mebendazole is a synthetic benzimidazole, and its absorption is increased if ingested with a fatty meal. And the absorbed drug is more than 90% bound to plasma proteins. It has a half-life of 2 to 6 hours, and it is excreted in the urine and bile. Its mechanism of action is important and is often asked in exams. It inhibits the microtubule polymerization and glucose uptake in the helminths. So clinical uses of mebendazole are also very important. Mebendazole comes by the name of Vermox. It is available in 100 and 500 milligrams tablets. And it has a wide spectrum of antihelminthic activity. As told earlier, it is active against nematodes and cestodes as well, and has a low incidence of adverse effects. For intestinal worms, it should be taken before meals, and for tissue worms, it should be given after meals because the absorption of the drug is increased with meals. So for the treatment of ascariasis, trichuriasis, hookworm and trichostrongylus infection, the 100 milligram of the drug is given twice daily for 3 days, and if after 3 weeks of treatment the patient is not cured, then the course is repeated. And for pinworm infection, 100 milligram drug is given once and it is repeated at 2 or 3 weeks interval if the patient is not treated. Then it is also given for intestinal capillariasis and trichinosis. So now let's check out its adverse effects. So for short-term therapy, it produces mild nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. And for all antihelminthic drugs, the major adverse effects are the ones affecting the GIT. And if the drug is given in high doses, like in 500 milligrams, then it can produce hypersensitivity reaction like rash, urticaria, agranulocytosis, alopecia, and elevation of liver enzymes. So the trick to memorize the adverse effects is that almost all of them, they will be producing nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. Clear? Mebendazole is contraindicated in pregnancy, specifically during the first trimester of pregnancy, but it can be given during the second or third trimester if the patient is having iron deficiency anemia secondary to worm infestation. And it should be used with caution in children younger than 2 years of age because of rare reports of seizures in this age group, and also because of limited experience of the use of the drug in this age group. And since it is metabolized in liver and it is metabolized by cytochrome P450, so its levels may be decreased by concomitant use of carbamazepine, phenytoin or ritonavir, and increased by cimetidine. And it should be used with caution in patients with cirrhosis. Clear? Thiabendazole is also sister of albendazole and mebendazole, and it is rapidly absorbed after ingestion and has a shorter half-life, and it is almost completely metabolized in the liver, and it can also be absorbed from the skin, and it also inhibits the polymerization of microtubules. It is an alternative to ivermectin or albendazole for the treatment of strongyloiditis and cutaneous larva migrans. Okay, and it is not commonly used because of its adverse effects. It is much more toxic than other benzimidazole. It can produce anorexia, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, epigastric pain, abdominal cramps, as you have been told earlier that these drugs mostly they produce adverse effects in the GIT. It can produce headache, dizziness, drowsiness, and neuropsychiatric symptoms, pruritus, irreversible liver failure, and Stevens-Johnson syndrome, and it could be fatal. That's why ivermectin is preferred over thiabendazole nowadays. Ivermectin is a semisynthetic macrocyclic lactone derived from the soil Actinomycete Streptomyces evermitilis. It is rapidly absorbed, has a wide tissue distribution and a volume of distribution of about 50 liters, but it does not cross the blood-brain barrier. It has a very long half-life of 16 hours and it is excreted in feces. Its mechanism of action is important. It intensifies GABA-mediated neurotransmission in the nematodes and arthropods and will cause immobilization of parasite. And then it will facilitate their removal by reticular endothelial system. So it will open the GABA-gated chloride channels, and you know that increased intracellular chloride will lead to hyperpolarization and paralysis. So it intensifies GABA-mediated neurotransmission. Clinical uses: it is the drug of choice in strongyloidiasis and onchocerciasis, filariasis, loiasis. It is also used to treat scabies, and especially in case of crusted scabies, it is given, and it is given orally. Pediculosis means head lice, cutaneous larva migrans, and to eliminate a large proportion of ascarid worms, and it was used in the treatment of COVID-19, but still it is under research. But many patients were given ivermectin for the treatment of coronavirus disease, and they were treated with this drug. It has few adverse effects, like it can produce nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, fatigue, dizziness, and rashes. Otherwise, it is a very safe drug to be used. It can produce one other adverse effect, and it is due to the reaction to the dying microfilary. It is known as Mazzotti reaction, and it is characterized by fever, headache, dizziness, somnolence, weakness, rash, pruritus, diarrhea, joint and muscle pains, hypotension, tachycardia, lymphadenitis, lymphangitis, and peripheral edema. And sometimes the patient may develop swellings and abscesses at the sites of adult worms. And some patients develop corneal opacities and other eye lesions several days after treatment. And the severity of this reaction depends upon the load of the parasite, load of the microfilary. So in some cases, in some patients, it can present only with fever, headache, dizziness, somnolence, while in others, lymphadenitis, lymphangitis, joint and muscle pain, depending upon the load of the parasite. Clear? And this Mazzotti reaction is also produced by one other drug. We'll be discussing it shortly. Ivermectin should not be used during pregnancy and in children younger than 5 years of age. Clear? Next drug is pyrentyl palmoate, and it is a tetrahydropyrimidine derivative. It is poorly absorbed from GIT and it is active mainly against luminal organisms. Clear? Mechanism of action is important. It is a depolarizing neuromuscular blocking agent. It causes release of acetylcholine and inhibits cholinesterase enzyme, and it results in paralysis of the worms followed by expulsion. So it is a depolarizing neuromuscular blocking agent, and it produces neuromuscular blockade in the worms. There is also a broad spectrum anthelmintic, and it is highly effective for the treatment of pinworm, ascaris, and Trichostrongylus orientalis infection. And it is moderately effective against both species of hookworm. And as we discussed that it is absorbed poorly, so it is only used for the treatment of intestinal worms. And adverse effects, again, it will produce nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal cramps, can produce dizziness, drowsiness, headache, insomnia, rash, fever, and weakness. It is contraindicated in pregnancy and in children less than 2 years of age. The last drug used to treat the nematode infection is diethylcarbamazine. It is a synthetic piperazine derivative. It immobilizes the microfilariae and alters their surface structure, displacing them from tissues, increasing their susceptibility to host defense mechanism. So it will displace the parasite from the tissues, and then the host defense mechanisms would come into play and they will kill the parasite. Clear? It is a drug of choice in the treatment of filariasis, loiasis, and tropical eosinophilia, and diethylcarbamazine is safe in pregnancy. It produces anorexia, nausea, vomiting, headache, malaise, dizziness, and weakness. And diethylcarbamazine is the drug mainly responsible for Mazotti-like reaction, which is a reaction to the dying microfilariae, and it can present as fever, papular rash, muscle or joint pain, lymphangitis, lymphadenitis, leukocytosis, retinal hemorrhages. And as told earlier, the reaction or the severity of reaction, it depends upon the load of the microfilariae. So these are the two drugs which will produce Mazotti-like reaction, diethylcarbamazine and ivermectin. Clear? So we are done with the drugs which active against nematodes. The first group was benzimidazoles, out of which mebendazole and albendazole are most commonly used, and thiabendazole is not used because of its adverse effects, and they produce their anthelminthic actions by inhibiting the polymerization of microtubules. Then was ivermectin, which intensifies the GABA neurotransmission and paralyzes the worm. Then it was pyrantyl palmoate, which is a depolarizing neuromuscular blocker, and it also paralyzes the worms. Then diethylcarbamazine, which detaches the worm, and then host defense mechanisms, they come into play and they eradicate the worm. And the adverse effects are mostly anorexia, nausea, vomiting, and weakness, dizziness, lethargy. These are the most common adverse effects of these drugs. And Mazotti-like reaction is produced by ivermectin and diethylcarbamazine. Now let's discuss the drugs that act against trematodes. Trematodes, known as flukes, are leaf-shaped flat worms. Nematodes were roundworms, and trematodes are flatworms, and that are generally characterized by the tissues they infect. So they are known as liver flukes, lung flukes, intestinal flukes, and blood flukes. You should memorize their names. Liver flukes are Phaseola hepatica, Clonorchis sinensis, Opisthorchis species, and lung flukes are Paragonimus westermanni, and intestinal flukes are Heterophes, Metagonimus yokogawai, and Phaseolopsis buski, and blood flukes are Schistosoma hematobium, Schistosoma mansoni, and Schistosoma japonicum. So these are blood flukes, liver fluke, intestinal fluke, and lung fluke. And the drugs used for their treatment are BOMP, bithionol, oxamniquine, metrifonate, and praziquantel. And the drug most commonly asked in exams is praziquantel. Praziquantel is a synthetic isoquinoline pyrazine derivative. Its mechanism of action is often asked in exam. It increases the membrane permeability to calcium, causing marked contraction initially and then paralysis of trematode and cestode muscles. And this is followed by vacuolization and parasite death. So what will it do? Because it is increasing the membrane permeability of the parasite to calcium, and then it is producing paralysis ultimately, so the parasite will detach from the host cell wall. Praziquantel is a broad spectrum anthelminthic drug because it is active against both the trematodes and cestodes, and it is taken after meal and should be swallowed without chewing because it is bitter in taste, and its bitter taste can produce retching and vomiting. It is the drug of choice in schistosomiasis, all the species, Hematobium, Mansoni, and Japonicum. It is also drug of choice in clonorchisis, opisthorchisis. These are the liver flukes. Paragonimyces, this is caused by lung fluke, and for infections caused by small and large intestinal flukes. It is also drug of choice for infections caused by cestodes, and it is an alternative agent in the treatment of cysticercosis. And praziquantel is safe in pregnancy and in children. The adverse effects, it will produce gastrointestinal irritation, headache, dizziness, drowsiness, malaise, fever, and neurological effects can occur in the treatment of neurocysticercosis, including intracranial hypertension and seizures, and it is producing neurological effects because praziquantel can cross the blood-brain barrier. Metryptonate is an organophosphate prodrug and it is converted in the body to cholinesterase inhibitor dichlorvos. It is used to treat schistosoma hematobium infection only and it is contraindicated in pregnancy. So what you need to memorize about this drug is that it is an organophosphate drug. It is a cholinesterase inhibitor and it is used to treat schistosoma hematobium infection only. Bithionol is also orally effective and it is a co-drug of choice for fasciolitis, which is caused by Fasciola hepatica, which is a sheep liver fluke, and it is an alternative agent in paragonymiasis. Adverse effects of bithionol are anorexia, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal cramps, dizziness, headache, pyrexia, tinnitus, proteinuria, and leukopenia. The main adverse effects of all these drugs are anorexia, nausea, vomiting, and abdominal cramps, and then dizziness, headache, and myalgias. Oxamniquine, it causes paralysis of the worms and it is effective solely in schistosoma mansoni infections. Okay. So metryptonate was used only to treat schistosoma hematobium infection and maniquin is used solely in the treatment of schistosoma mansoni infections. And dizziness is a very common adverse effect and headache, GI irritation, pruritus may also occur. It can produce red, orange discoloration of urine. I want you to write down the name of another drug which can produce red, orange discoloration of the urine. Okay. A chemotherapeutic drug. It can produce proteinuria and it is contraindicated in pregnancy and in epilepsy. So we are done with the drugs active against trematodes and the main drug was praziquantel. It is also a broad spectrum drug. Now the drugs that act against cestodes. Cestodes are tapeworms. They have a flat segmented body and they attach to the host's intestine. These are different types of cestodes. Taenia saginata, which is beef tapeworm, Taenia solium, pork tapeworm, Diphyllobothrium latum, which is fish tapeworm, Hymenolepis nana, dwarf tapeworm, and Echinococcus granulosus, which produces hydatid disease. The drugs active against cestodes are P-man, praziquantel, mebendazole, albendazole, and niclosamide. So you have been taught about albendazole, mebendazole, and praziquantel. So we'll only discuss niclosamide now. These are different cestodes: Taenia saginata, Taenia solium. This is the larval stage of Taenia solium cysticercus. This is Diphyllobothrium latum, Hymenolepis nana, and Echinococcus granulosus, which produces hydatid disease. Niclosamide is a salicylamide derivative. Its mechanism of action is that it is inhibiting the oxidative phosphorylation or it stimulates the ATPase activity. So it is interfering with the metabolic activity of the parasite. It is an alternative drug for tapeworm infections. The drug of choice remains praziquantel and it is not effective for cysticercosis and hydatid disease and it is effective in the treatment of infections from small and large intestinal flukes as well. So that's all. Now let's summarize whatever we did in today's lecture. So the drugs active against nematodes are MAP-ID, mebendazole, albendazole, pyrantel palmoate, ivermectin, and diethylcarbamazine. The drugs active against trematodes are BOMP, bithionol, oxamniquine, metryptonate, praziquantel, and the drugs active against cestodes are P-man, praziquantel, mebendazole, albendazole, and niclosamide. So anthelminthic drugs, they generally act by paralyzing the parasite, damaging the worm, or altering parasite metabolism. This diagram is summarizing all the drugs. So drugs which inhibit microtubule polymerization are albendazole, mebendazole, and thiabendazole. Drugs causing paralysis are pyrantel palmoate, which is a depolarizing neuromuscular blocker, ivermectin, which intensifies GABA neurotransmission, and praziquantel, which increases calcium influx. This is E in praziquantel. And then the drug which alters the parasite metabolism is the drug causing uncoupling of oxidative phosphorylation. It is niclosamide. And the drugs altering microfilarial membrane and increasing phagocytosis is diethyl carbamazine. The drugs which are safe in pregnancy are diethyl carbamazine and praziquantel. And albendazole, mebendazole, they can be used during the second and third trimester of pregnancy, but they cannot be used during the first trimester of pregnancy. The broad spectrum drugs are MAP, mebendazole, albendazole, and praziquantel. And the drugs which produce Mazotti-like reaction are diethyl carbamazine and ivermectin. So this is the summary of whole lecture which we did today. Another important question from examination point of view is regarding the drug of choice, and the easy way to remember is that albendazole is a drug of choice for all nematode infections except for Strongyloides stercoralis and Onchocerca volvulus, for which ivermectin is the drug of choice, and Trobius vermicularis and Trichinella spiralis, for which mebendazole is the drug of choice, and Wuchereria Bancrofti and Bergia malai, for which diethyl carbamazine is drug of choice. So easy. And in case of trematodes, praziquantel is the drug of choice for all trematode infections except for Fasciola hepatica, for which bithionol is the drug of choice. And in case of cestodes, praziquantel is the drug of choice for all of them except for cysticercosis and Echinococcus granulosus, for which albendazole is the drug of choice. And if praziquantel is not available, then niclosamide could be used in cestodes infestations. Clear? So it's easy that albendazole is the drug of choice for almost all of the nematode infestations, and for trematodes and cestodes, praziquantel is the drug of choice, and you have to memorize the exceptions. Now is the quiz time, and you know the drill. You just have to write down the question numbers. You don't need to write the statement. Write down their correct answers and submit it in your WhatsApp group for attendance. So let's get started. A malnourished 12-year-old child who lives in a rural area presents with weakness, fever, cough, abdominal pain, and eosinophilia. His mother tells you that she has seen long, thin worms in the child's stools, sometimes with blood. A presumptive diagnosis of ascariasis is confirmed by the presence of the ova of Ascaris lumbricoides in the stools. However, microscopy reveals that the stools also contain the eggs of Necator americanus, which is hookworm. How will you treat the combined round and hookworm infection? Name the drug of choice to be given along with its dosage. Clear? So it's a common practice that whenever children come to us, especially if they are having continuous or chronic abdominal pain and they are malnourished, and especially if they are having iron deficiency anemia, then we usually deworm the patients. So you have to tell the name of the drugs which can be used in a combined round and hookworm infection. Which drug enhances the actions of GABA in nematodes causing muscle paralysis? Which helminthic infection does not respond to treatment with praziquantel? A missionary from the United States is sent to work in geographic region of a Central American country where Onchocerca volvulus is endemic. Onchocerciasis is a cause of river blindness. Which drug should be used prophylactically to prevent onchocerciasis? Well, that's all for today. I hope you have understood the topic well. If you have any queries, you're most welcome to ask them in your WhatsApp group and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Go through the lecture thoroughly. Take care of yourselves. Have a good day. Allah Hafiz.